Hello. So this video is going to be the first of a couple of videos I want to do looking at the control panel in Isadora. So Isadora is obviously very flexible software. Everything is dynamic and you can get in there and change things with the numbers, which is great. It gives you a lot of, in a sense, control over many aspects of how you send video out in real time. But sometimes navigating through a patch that you've built can be a little bit overwhelming if you're just wanting to change one or two things. So this is where the control panel comes in, and it allows you to build a simple front-end interface with different kinds of controls that reflect how you might manipulate different parameters, from sliders to on-off buttons and many more. So this first video will look just really at the basics of just opening up the control panel, plugging a couple of things in and connecting them, and we'll do that with a couple of controls. I'm not going to go over the whole lot. I'll do another video next after this which will look at maybe some of the controls that might be more applicable to a VJing setup, so selecting media and mixing effects and things like that, and monitoring that output. So these will be by no means comprehensive, but hopefully they will give you a nice introduction to the principle of control panels. Okay, so here I've got a very simple patch. I've got a shape actor generating a nice green circle, and it's going into a dots actor, which I currently have turned the bypass on, but just to show you, that's what the dots actor is doing. And then that's been rendered to a projector, and I'm going to add a little bit of animation in there with this wave generator. So let's plug this into the scale, and you can see it's getting bigger and smaller. I'm just going to calibrate that. I'm going to change the maximum and minimum. I'm going to say it's going to go from 10 to 100, and that should yeah, so I've got this nice growing and shrinking animation of a dot, and obviously I can change some of the parameters about this in real time. So I can change the position, I can turn the effect on and off, I could change the intensity of the projector, but they're all, accessing those can be a little bit fiddly, and you know, obviously if this was a much bigger patch with other things going on, that would be a lot trickier. So this is where the control panel comes in, and as an interface it's hidden for the most part when you open Isadora. So we've got to go to another part of the program. So we'll do that by going to the view option, and if you scroll down, it's here. You've got show content, show controls, and act control split. So I'm going to choose the second one just so you can see the panels side by side, and watch on the left here. So our usual toolbox disappears, and we now have this other much smaller toolbox, and we've also got this this divider in the window, and this is the split. So over here we can see our patch that we're working with, and on the left this is where we're going to build a separate kind of patch. This is the control panel. So let's have a look. Let's try and plug a couple of these things in, and let's see if we can yeah, have a bit of fun with this. So I'm dragging these over here just so I can see them side by side. So we can see in the list there might be some controls which are immediately suggesting what they do. For instance, a buttons usually turn things on and off. The first one I'm going to pick out, one that I use quite a lot, is a slider. So I'm going to pick this out, and again it's a bit like grabbing the actors. You just click it, move it over, and then drop it. And each of these controls tends to have a little white cube in the bottom corner, and that's a place where you can change the size of them. So I'm going to make my slider quite big, and a slider changes the values on a scale. So it's a bit like if I click on the intensity here, it has a slider that pops up. Well, this is going to be a bit like having a slider that's always available to me. And then the second thing to notice here then is this number 1. So when you bring a control into the control panel, it assigns it a number. So that is the control ID. And what we have to do is we have to link the control ID to the property that we want to change. And there's 2 ways of doing this. So I'll show you the first way. The first way, and the way I use most often, is perhaps I just click on the number and I get a wire, and I can drag that wire down to the property that I want it to connect it to. So watch this very quickly. So as soon as I let go, the wire disappears, but in its place we have this little tab that says number 1. So that tells me that intensity is now linked to control ID 1. And there's a way we can check this, which is if I click on the intensity property, I get a little control panel. Here's my settings, and these are the settings we've looked at before for minimum and maximum, but here we have the control ID link. So control ID link is now set to 1. If I press that to 0, it deletes that link. So this is the second way we can connect a control to the panel, is we can simply open up the settings and type in the control ID link. So, right, I've hooked them up. Let's give it a try. So the control panel has 2 modes. One is edit mode, where I can change the size, access more settings, and change where I've got this placed. But if I want to actually use this slider, I need to disable edit mode. So I'm going to go into controls and disable edit mode, or Command Shift E. So I'm going to use that quite a lot. So now the number disappears and I'm left with this slider that I can drag up and down, and we can see it's having an effect on the intensity, and we can see the intensity number going up and down as I drag this slider. So I'm going to disable edit mode, and let's just do or enable edit mode, sorry. So I'm going to toggle back and forth quite a lot between those 2. Let's just add another couple of things to this. So what else can I change? Well, I could change the dots actor. So I could turn the effect on and off. So at the minute, I can do that manually by dragging. But let's have a button to do that. So I'm going to click on button. I'm going to place that. And in the same way, I'm going to link this down to that bypass option. So let's go back to disable edit mode and see what happens. So it clicked on once, but now when I click it, it seems to be staying with the bypass set to off. Now there's a reason for this. There are 2 types of button. One is momentary and one is toggle. And at the minute you can see when I click this button, it pops up back straight away. So it's a momentary effect. So if I hold it down, you can see it stays with the bypass on, but when I let go, the bypass pops back up. So what we want to do is just take a bit more control over that. So I'm going to enable edit mode, and if I come back into the button, if I double click the button, I get some settings, and here, let's move this over. I should be able to change the mode from momentary to toggle. And I might even give it a little coloured indicator as well. So let's put the coloured indicator and let it set it to, ooh, what's the Wheel of Death going to give me to choose from? Finally, right. Let's set it to green to match my circle. Okay. So now I've got a little green indicator there. Right. let's turn this off again, disable edit mode. And now you can see when I click that, it changes and it stays changed. However, it doesn't feel very intuitive to me to click the button and the effect go off. I want to click the button and the effect come on. So when it's down and depressed, I want to have that dots effect. So again, I'm just going to do the shortcut. I'm going to go in here and you'll notice there's an option here called invert. So that will invert which is on and which is off, or the values. So now let's go back. When it's up, it's normal. And when I click it down, we have the effect. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to follow the rest of this up in another video.